brought to you by Chances NC. 2 days ago, I had the pleasure of meeting our next guest, music producer Rubio.
Now to find the words to let you know.
Thanks for having me, brother.
Now, I want to get straight into it. Take me to the beginning. What's your story like?
So I started here in North Carolina, obviously. I went to middle school. I had just moved from Miami, change of scenery, and in my middle school class we had, obviously an elective in music. And so the teacher put us all on GarageBand for one day. And I remember being there and working on GarageBand and being so infatuated with just creating music in this way because I'd never seen it done this way. And I went home that same day, downloaded GarageBand, and just took off with it. Over the years, I transferred over to Logic and just built and worked and worked and worked. That brought me all the way to high school, where in sophomore year, I actually ended up going to Millbrook because I had been told that they were going to start a music production class. So I came over, I helped Millbrook start it, and it grew into something that I never thought it would, grow into. From that moment forward, I kind of just worked on it. It was something that I did, that I loved, and school was always my side. It was always music that I loved most, and working through that was just, really developing the skills I needed to be able to take it to somewhere where I really could see myself doing this as a career. After Millbrook, after I had, established that kind of class and this big elective, I left there, and as soon as I graduated high school, I made the move out to Atlanta.
Wow.
Atlanta was obviously a different move, different jump, but I wanted to be in a city where what I did was actually supported, not kind of looked down upon.
Well, what was that like transitioning from, growing up here, going to school here, going straight to a whole nother place like Atlanta?
To be honest, man, Atlanta is completely different than here.
For sure.
We come from a small town. This is, a lot of people have a kind of concrete way of thinking where, it's go to school, go to college, get a job, and settle down and raise a family.
Yeah.
For me personally, I knew that wasn't the route that was, at least God had planned for me. So I made that transition to go out there. I took a jump, leap of faith, knowing that what I love and what I was doing would be, I would figure it out.
I mean, sometimes that's what you got to do. I mean, even with this podcast, I was stuck playing and thinking of an idea, and I chose to jump straight into it.
Yeah.
Each video I do, I learn from it, and I continue to just grow and get better on that. And I mean, that's part of the game. You just got to jump straight into it.
It's kind of like shaping, shaping what your business is or your career is or what your brand is. And the biggest hurdle that people don't really get over is just starting, creating something, having an idea and actually running with it, even if it doesn't, look perfect right away.
One thing I heard, I don't remember who it was exactly that said it, but when something like this, a lot of the time, people fail in the planning process.
Yeah.
Because they spend so much time just planning it instead of actually taking action and going straight for what they want to do.
Yeah.
Instead of just sitting there thinking of the next thing, procrastinating it, just go ahead, get the idea, start working towards it. Exactly.
Yeah, I think it's called, I'm not sure what it's called, but it's kind of like you want it to be perfect so much that you just don't even do anything.
Exactly.
And so if you can just get over the few first hurdles and just say, fuck it, I'm gonna do it, then, you'll eventually find the flow, and that flow will take you through grinding, through hard work, through just trusting the process. It'll take you in front of people that you need to meet, to developing a team that's full circle, where everybody supports each other, and at that point, you're just going.
Well, for our viewers who, are young and want to start, production, music production specifically, what advice could you give to them?
To be honest, I feel like a lot of people need to understand that getting into music for the wrong reasons is why a lot of people fail. People see the fame, people see the money, people see the clothes, they see the lifestyle, and they want that versus more than just loving creating music. And so I feel like if you're young and you want to do music, you have to really make sure it's what you love, it's your passion. You can be broke for 10 years doing it and you would be just as happy. And because, to be honest, when in this game, you know, there's so many hurdles and so many different hills you have to climb, different struggles you have to get over and embrace. And so my advice for somebody looking to get into music production is to make sure you love it, and if you love it, go for it. Don't sit around, work hard, believe in it, and understand that people aren't going to see your vision. If you have a certain vision for yourself, you just have to chase it and do it for the reason here, and just do it for the reason that you love it.
You work with a lot of different genres. What is your kind of go-to genre that you typically produce for?
So for me, music is therapy. I see it as therapy for me. So I used to put myself in certain rooms, in certain positions to where I would have to make a certain type of sound to satisfy the artist I was working with, or to go with the movie that I'm working on, you know, like for a soundtrack. But recently I've learned that if I do what I'm feeling in that moment, and I create music based on based on the emotion I am in that moment, what I end up making is so much greater than forcing it.
I mean, because you'll have a higher connection. I mean, the way you feel going on to how you produce it, that's that same connection. You're flowing with it.
Exactly. Yeah. To me, it's like when I make a beat, it's like a part of me is in that beat. So I could make a beat 3 years from now, and if you were to play it, you know, I would know exactly where I was, you know, when it was, and how I was feeling in that moment. And so because of that, and because of me doing it for so long, I'm able to put that into different genres.
Yeah,
depending on the movie.
Each genre kind of brings its unique kind of way and challenges. And speaking about challenges, I know early in your career, everyone usually faces a couple challenges to get to that next level. Is there any you could speak on how you overcame that?
To be honest, I feel like when you first start music and you're really trying to get your name out there, it's really hard to be financially afloat.
Yeah.
And you know, that's kind of where your faith in what you do has to come into, you know, play. And a challenge, you know, that I've overcome is kind of being able to live a life that's more, you know, organized and scheduled out, more than some other people. As before, you know, I was running like a chicken with its head cut off, just moving all over the place, you know, any session I can get into, staying up all night, sleeping when I could. You know, that lifestyle is part of the grind, but it's, you know, it takes a toll on your body.
100%.
And so I feel like the biggest challenge I've been able to overcome is to get out of that and keep myself healthy and be able to do what I love doing in a more organized flow, because I feel like the industry is very unorganized.
I mean, it's clear you're passionate about your music and producing. What kind of inspired you to go that route, or what keeps you inspired?
There's a feeling I get from music that nothing of this world can give me. No amount of money, no amount of, you know, nothing physical can give me the feeling that music gives me.
Can you describe that feeling?
It's undescribable, if I'm being honest with you. I can't. It's more of just like when I hear music and I love it, I float towards it. You know, I want to learn as much as I can about it. I just love being able to put sounds together and to create something that creates emotion, or reflects like an emotion I'm going through, or reflects an emotion somebody else is going through. And on top of all that, what I really love about music is that it's subjective. What I feel about a certain piece of music, somebody can think something completely different. So there's not one form of art in music that somebody won't like, or somebody will like. It differentiates.
That's a great approach. And talking about inspiring, what about motivators? Who kind of motivated you, or who motivates you?
All the GOATs, man. All the GOATs in my game, man. You know, from Mike Will to Timbaland to Metro Boomin to, you know, I can keep naming it, Boy Wonder, you know, Hit Boy, all these greats that I got to see develop, that I got to see work. You know, even Kanye, you know, before he became an artist. All these people that I got to see and I got to study and understand what it took for them to get to their position, they inspire me to be great and to, you know, kind of keep what they started going. So from them all the way to, you know, I'm very inspired through, you know, cinema, through movie, the different movies, you know, the scores in the movies. Like, I feel like being able to tie music into other things, whether it's entertainment, sports, commercials, like the idea that music is legitimately everywhere is so powerful.
100%.
And so I can be anywhere, and it takes one piece of music, and I can be inspired to make something.
Something that's funny to me is all this is happening based on one conversation we had.
Yeah.
We literally met 2 days ago
Yeah.
and just started talking, and now we're here,
Yeah.
learning from each other, and we're definitely going to grow. I want to ask, how important is it to network like that? How important is it for that next person, that next opportunity? How important is it to talk to them, to reach out to them?
Yeah. So from what I've learned and from what I've seen from the most successful people in any business, in any industry, it's not what you know, it's who you know. Sometimes you may have a skill that you're not as great at, and you meet somebody that can do that skill and that's been mastering that skill for years. It's very important to meet people and to realize that you can't do all this by yourself. I'm definitely not in my position by myself. I've had so many different people that have skills in different areas that have helped me get to where I am now and will help me get to where I'm going to be. So it's all about who you know. And I feel like people can take that and run with it. Whether it doesn't matter if they're a cameraman, or if they're an engineer, or if they're an artist, or if they're a label exec, or A&R, P&R, somebody knows something you don't. So it doesn't matter if they're smaller than you or bigger than you can always learn from somebody, and it's always important to make connections with people.
Networking truly is crucial. I mean, you've mentioned a couple big names. Have you ever been able to network with those big names or be in the same room, work with them?
Yes, of course. From Lil Durk to Rick Ross to Big Scar before he passed away, rest in peace to him, to Waka Flocka. They all live the same life that I do. They network just as much as I do. No matter how big they are always meeting people. They are always trying to learn, and that is why they're at where they're at.
So you went straight from high school to Atlanta, is that correct?
Yes, it is, yeah.
And then you built yourself from the bottom all the way up, meeting all these big producers, building your own name at such a young age. I mean, that's 18 years old, going to Atlanta, that's insane. I mean, how do you do all that at such a young age?
Faith in what I was doing, faith in God, and just, believing in the fact that I would figure it out. Now, through all of that, there's so many experiences that I've learned from, that I've kind of been able to grow from, seeing and being young, and also having the guidance that I had while I was growing up really helped to be able to move. A little bit about me moving down there is I moved out there a week before I was supposed to go to college, and made the big decision to not go to college and to follow my dreams. And so when I got out there, I knew one person in Atlanta, and I didn't know how I was going to get in rooms, who I was going to meet, who I needed to meet, where I needed to go. I just had faith in what I loved doing, and figured that the work that I put in to school and into music for all those years would pay off to showing me how I could do the same thing here.
I mean, self-belief is a huge part, especially in life. If you want to grow, you have to have that confidence. What are 3 tips you could give to young viewers listening to this that want to be out there, want to put themselves out there, but are too shy, or are stuck at home, or are stuck on that school path and want to do something different?
I would say I feel like everybody has something in their life that they love to the point where they'd be willing to risk everything for it. And I feel like if you have a skill set, or if you have an idea that in your heart can take you to places, you should follow it. It all starts from here, Another tip I would say, that believe in yourself, believe in your idea, believe in your skill set, believe in what you love, and also understand that college isn't made for everyone. I feel like college is a great tool for certain careers, but nowadays we're living in a society where people are making livings off of doing TikToks, making livings off of doing videos, making living off of cooking from the kitchen at home, making tutorials. There's so many countless ways to do what you love doing. It's all about finding your niche in your industry and really growing it and really developing the connections that can help you make it into something big. And so I really think that the biggest advice I can give them is that if they feel like no matter what people say, they're still going to do it, they love it to that point where it doesn't matter what the outside world says, they'll keep going, they should chase it, and they should get started as soon as possible.
And how did you manage, at a young age, balancing life with work? and especially when you have to grow yourself, your personal brand, your business, there's not much balance there.
I would say in the beginning it was definitely a very hard thing to learn.
Yeah.
It was something I definitely struggled with because being so young and not being away from home and being in a completely different city, I'm managing just surviving. Out there, just figuring it out on my own, and so I really feel like over the years, as I've grown, I've realized, okay, this is more important than this. Me getting sleep here and rest and eating healthier is more important than me being in a certain room, tired, eating bullshit. You know what I mean? It's been something I've grown into, learning. It's not something that you can kind of just get on the fly. You really have to go out there for yourself and learn what that looks like for you, because every person is different.
I mean, you've been in Atlanta for a while now. Someone that doesn't go to Atlanta too often, they kind of hear things about it. For example, out here it's like kind of dangerous. Would you say that's true?
Definitely. In certain areas, I'd say that they have things that you just don't know of, different ties, and I would say that in certain areas it's definitely more dangerous than others. But I'd say that's the same within any major city. Any part of town is going to have an area where stuff is going on and you just want to stay away from. So Atlanta, yeah, it's bad, but I feel like if you can learn where those areas are and just stay out of them, then you'll be fine. It's safe.
Now, you grew yourself a lot, especially the past, 2-3 years coming out of high school.
Yeah.
How do you manage to keep yourself consistently growing, getting better than you were the day before?
I would say that for me, I like to take time where I reset, where I'll get inside the city, go somewhere where, it's not a concrete jungle, somewhere where I can just take time to myself, reflect on the craziness that my life is, and, have that time to just kind of reflect, fix things that I need to fix, make plans, make goals, and chase it each and every day. I feel like for me and for anybody else trying to chase that ultimate dream of, living out their passion or their vision, I feel like it's an everyday thing where you build your house brick by brick. And every now and then I take a step back to look at what I'm building, to see where I'm at, where I can improve, and how I can even further, speed up the process.
Now, working with music and producing it is such a whole different type of career path. What's your kind of why on why you do this?
I do it for the fact that I simply love music, but I do it also for the fact that I really just want to spread positivity with what I do. At the current moment, I don't know what that looks like and how I can really take music to, really spreading positivity to people, helping people. But I feel like as I continue to grow my brand, it'll shape itself to where I can throw events to help the homeless, throw events to inspire others, as I continue to develop my name.
I feel like a lot of people, that listen to music and rappers, they don't understand how important the production part is, producing it.
Yeah.
Could you give a little intel on that, on how important it actually is?
Well, I would say it's the trio, engineer, producer, artist. I feel like one of those pieces is missing, we wouldn't have any of the amazing songs we listen to today. And so I feel like each role is just as important as the next. And yeah, the artist gets the limelight for sure, but the way I see it is higher the risk, higher the reward. It's very hard to come up as an artist.
Yeah.
It's decently hard to come up as a producer. And it's still hard to come up as an engineer because you have to learn, the technical side of it. But I feel like it's more of a safer job than being an artist would. So yes, an artist does get the limelight, does get the fame, the brand deals, all those things. But I feel like if you develop a brand as a producer, you can do all the same stuff as we've seen Metro Boomin do, London on the Track do it, Timbaland do it, Mike Will, and, so many others.
So I was curious, and I was scrolling through your Instagram and TikTok, and I saw the type of content you produce. It's very unique, very different. What kind of sets you apart from everyone else?
Well, I feel like my content is kind of my life.
Yeah.
In different moments. So when I create certain beats, obviously I'm going through something, or I'm in a process, I'm always changing, always evolving. And so when I make a beat, I kind of see a vision of what, my life has been. And so with the help of my creative director, Charles Monteith, he follows me around and records everything. And what I essentially do is put my beat behind my life and the work that I do and the sessions that I'm in to showcase that part of my life. Kind of like a timestamp on this certain time, this certain period, what I was doing, who I was with, you know, and obviously having some big names, you know, cameo in it from time to time.
I mean, being a younger producer, I feel like just being young in general, you kind of don't get that same respect as, you know, older people. How did you kind of manage to gain that respect?
Well, I think that respect is earned, not given. And I think that a lot of people in my generation kind of feel like they deserve respect when they haven't earned it. So for me, it was about consistently working, consistently being there, consistently grinding. People at the top would see me working when nobody else is working. And especially being different, looking different, not, you know, like I said, being in rooms where I'm the only, you know, light-skinned person there, you know, and standing out and knowing that I stand out and still being there, definitely gain respect. Especially when people come in and I wouldn't, you know, I would just stay to myself and work, would leave people to come talk to me because, like I said, to be in certain rooms, you know, you have to have worked for something. You have to have, you know, put in that time.
I mean, have there been cases where you kind of felt not necessarily disrespected, but treated differently just because you're younger?
Of course, and you can't let that break you down. You kind of see it as, you know what, one day I will be in that position of these people. But when I am in that position of these certain people, you know, the top of the industry, I'm gonna know to look out for people like me that are in the corner, that are young, that grind. People don't pay attention to that. People don't notice. I mean, a lot of people didn't pay attention to Kanye when Kanye was coming up. You know, a lot of people didn't pay attention to Drake. They were always that person in that room learning, and those people you really have to look out for.
What's one thing you see producers nowadays doing wrong?
For me, it's kind of a biased take because, you know, I can see the pros and cons of both sides. But I feel like a lot of producers nowadays are so focused on chasing the placement versus actually just creating music, loving what you're doing. They're so focused on just getting the next placement. And I feel like although placements can really make or break your career, I feel like if you're just chasing that, you know, you're not chasing actually having identity or what makes you stand out. You know, you're gonna end up in the same position as before you have a placement, ultimately, because music ages. You know, a lot of music nowadays isn't timeless. You know, it comes in, it's hot for 3 months, and then you never really hear about it again.
That's one thing about quick success is there's not much longevity in it. You know, you don't stay in the game after getting something so quick. You kind of have to work the long run. And, you know, it'll fall out perfect.
Yeah, for me, personally, like, the reason why I do the content that I do, that I want to build the brand that I want to build, is so that I can stand on that always. If you have a brand and people, you know, are clinging to your content or looking at what you're doing and consistently tuning in, you can do anything, you know, with it. As we've seen, you know, a little example, like between like Logan Paul, Jake Paul, like they came into the game as YouTubers, and now they're one's in, you know, WWE, and the other one's boxing. You don't know where you're gonna end up, but if you can develop a name, a brand, and a consistent flow of content with the right team, you can really do whatever. And it doesn't matter if I have a hit placement or if I don't at the current moment. I will always have that name and brand to go off of.
You always have to be flexible as well. You have to learn how to adjust. I mean, personally, I didn't start, you know, being an on-camera type of person.
Of course.
I just put myself out there. You know, I started doing reels and stuff for the businesses, put myself out there a little bit, and then now I'm branching out. You know, that's one thing businessmen have to learn, is branching out is very important. To stay connected, but reach different audiences.
Of course. Of course.
Well, I think I got a good understanding of you. I think it's time to move on to the beats. Can you show me what you got?
Yeah, let's get it.
Let's get to it. Makes me want to rap. Makes me want to hop on the channel. What's kind of your most like unique type of beats you make?
I just feel like old music has so much soul in it, and it's hard to find nowadays. That soul, so like recreating that, reinventing it to a modern time sound, like.
Alright, I'm going down.
Yeah. I'm telling you, man. Then I make shit for like, you know, like we go to different clubs in different cities when we travel. So I love like just Trap shit.
I got bags in my hand, 100 grand to a million.
That brings the vibe out. Definitely.
Like this, you would just like bounce to without, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
They bounce to it like that, and it's like, bro, it's not even an artist on it. Somebody's rapping on it. Songwriter or an artist, it doesn't matter. You know,
Yeah.
it's all about describing a feeling and an emotion. You can hear when a song is cookie cutter, when it's made up. You can feel it, but like back then in the old days, you know, with soul samples, you can just understand that that person had something happen that day, the day before, or the week before, that's really on their mind, and they went in, and their way of expressing it was through music.
I mean, one thing I remember Roddy Ricch stating is he needs time to drop these songs and albums because he has to go through things. He has to feel emotions that apply to that.
Yeah, I feel like, especially with a lot of producers, you know, a lot of producers go through heartbreak and then end up making that hit song. It's like you can't fake real feelings, and when you put it in, you know, you just can't fake
way
it.
to put it.
Yeah.
So other producers out there, what's the best way for them, you know, to be similar to you, to get your music out there, to just keep enjoying it along the path, even if you're not getting results?
That's why, you know, I said like earlier, it's like you really have to love it, because for me, I've seen the visions of what I'm doing now since I was young, whether it was through dreams, through ideas, through hopes. I've seen what's happening now years back, and I feel like if you have that vision, or if you have something you're passionate about, it just develops as you go. But you have to do it for the right reason. Anything you do for the wrong reason, money will only motivate you so far. You know, materialistic items will only motivate you so far. When it gets to those hard times, that's when you really find out who loves it and who's doing it for the wrong reasons.
How do you manage to get through those hard times?
I come back to square one. Music. Why did I start this? Why did I get here? Why did I put myself in this situation? Why am I here? And it all has to do with music, my love for music.
Well, what's one shoe that kind of stands out to you?
I would say either the Dunk or the SB Dunks, because I feel like all the different colorways, man, you know, you can't go wrong. There's something for everybody.
I mean, they got a new colorway every week, so.
Yeah, for real.
You're in a room with a lot of these producers and artists. Is sneakers really brought up like that? Do you guys talk about that?
I think depending on the artist, really, because like some artists will come in with some fire shit on, they'll ask, or like if you have something on, they'll be like, yo, like what are those, you know?
Yeah.
Or like artists are always looking for the next freshest shit, you know, like to either use for video or for content. It really doesn't matter. So we definitely talk about shoes every now and then, but nothing to the point where it's like the main focus. We know why we're there to work, you know.
What about artist collabs with, you know, sneakers? For example, Travis Scott, he has one of the most famous brands, Cactus Jack.
How do I feel about it?
Yeah.
I think for me, you know, like I think Travis did his thing. You know, if I'm being honest, between his team and Nike, I feel like there's just enough flair to know it's a different shoe and it's for an artist or by an artist, but it still keeps the same principles, you know what I mean? And plus, I think Travis dived into more neutral colors, which wasn't really big back then.
Yep.
It became a trend with his stuff. The other person I really like is like, you know, Drake with Nocta. I don't know if that's a subcategory or a subdivision of Nike, but that's the other thing that I really actually, I really like as far as a artist brand collab.
Now, you've worked with a lot of big producers, Zaytoven, Mike. What kind of stories do you have? Do you have anything to share?
Yeah,
Like,
I do.
interesting
Actually,
stories?
so the first time I met Mike Will was Julio Jones, the wide receiver that's most known for him playing on the Falcons. He told me to just pull up to the studio. I didn't know anything, so I just pulled up, and I remember meeting Mike Will. He had already given a good word, you know, for me, and so I remember everybody waited outside. He pulled me to the side for 30 minutes and really just gave me advice that I'm going to use for years to come. The main thing he told me that I will remember is that not everybody's going to see your vision, but always chase your vision. You know, people aren't going to understand it. You can explain it to anybody. They won't see it because it's your vision. Don't get so hooked on trying to get people to to see your vision, because they'll never see it the way you do. And that really changed the way I think.
What's kind of your go-to clothing apparel brand, if you even have one?
I think for me, I really just I like decals on the back. I like photo, like when I'm working or if I'm getting recorded, I like having something on the back so that people can see. stuff like this, kind of, like with Chrome Hearts, they do a really good job with that. But I really just like stuff that stands out, like they can match with a lot of different things. I go for the color black always, because I can pair with anything.
I'm not gonna lie, I think my whole closet is black.
Yeah.
Black or dark gray.
Yeah.
But I think we touched base on everything.
Yeah.
I mean, Rubio, I appreciate you coming out here. Definitely learned a lot. Hope the viewers got to learn something as well.
Oh, for sure.
And this is definitely the first episode, not our last one.
No, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We'll see the growth
Appreciate
over the
you.
years.
See you in the next episode.